Good morning, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and anywhere else that you're watching this. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day and welcome to Coffee and Cookies, where we have a fabulous day planned for you. My name is Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome my co-host, Nick.
I'm the co-host now.
Yes.
I thought I was the host.
We're co-hosts.
We're co-hosts.
Co-hosts.
Hey, you want to know what? A little bit ago, I've been like, yes, I want some hot chocolate. I want some hot cocoa. But today's Valentine's Day, so
where did that come
I don't know,
from?
but let's just roll with it today.
Roll with it.
Roll with it today, because chocolate and hot cocoa.
Oh, gotcha. You get chocolate on Valentine's Day.
I love chocolate.
Okay.
Yes.
Keep going.
There we go.
Anyway,
so
you wanted
it's
hot
Valentine's
cocoa.
Day. I'm going to do the first shout out. Amber, happy Valentine's Day. London, Isla, Sydney, happy Valentine's Day. Boom, I win. Okay. We have guests today. We have guests.
That's all I
yes.
have to say is wow. Like, wow.
Keep up. All right. You want to do a little introduction?
Yes, we are so excited to have in studio with us a power couple. They own their own business and are super involved in church, and they have great kids. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from them right now today. So I'm going to get my notes ready. You should too, because they're going to drop some gold. Please welcome Heidi and Brad Black.
Yay, good morning. We're
Brad
so
and
excited to
Heidi
be here.
Black. I'm so sorry.
Thanks.
Like that, she's just closer to me, so that was like my first. Sorry, Brad.
Good morning. We're so excited to be here. It's going to be a fun show.
It's going to be entertaining.
It is.
So what we're going to
Yes.
do, right now is we have some topics. We have some topics that they have selected to help share their story and share their perspective. Okay. So what we're going to do is Nick's going to do a little split screen action. Boom, 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 boom. Good morning, y'all. How are y'all doing?
We're awake. We've had a little bit of coffee.
Just a little
Thank
bit.
you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
So
that.
I have a question for y'all. What is y'all's morning routine? You guys are like the most fit couple in the church.
Oh, wow.
What is your morning routine?
Actually, this is a fun question. I'm glad you asked, and I know we hadn't planned to talk about. That's the whole thing. This is just like raw and real.
There you go.
Do you want to start, or do you want you go for it?
Well, I can start when we first got married,
Which how long have we been married?
22 years
Yeah,
this year.
This year.
That wasn't a test. Just so y'all know,
Nice.
Heidi was not testing him. We had talked about this before, just letting you know.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like 10 years old when we got married.
Yeah, exactly.
As young as they look, you might be like, man, they got married like super young. Like, yes. All right. So most fit couple in the church. What is your morning routine?
Oh, I was going to say when we first got married, I was a college swimmer. And so I just like retired from swimming. And so I was used to getting up super early and exercising. And Heidi was not. But I was like, well, I kind of want her to exercise with me. So I would get her out of bed at like 5:30 in the morning and we'd go on walks.
True
And
story.
we lived on a hill. So it was walking hills.
Yeah.
So you didn't like start her right out at your level.
No,
Is that what I'm hearing?
He was patient with me. So I was an athlete. I played soccer growing up, but I was not consistent or disciplined. In the off season, I wasn't running, for instance. So when Hell Week came around for soccer season, I
It
was
really was
dying.
Hell Week.
It was Hell Week. So when Brad and I got married, and he's so disciplined and consistent in what he does, he's like, all right, I love you. We're going to make this a lifestyle. And he did. He would get my butt up at 5:30 and we'd be out walking hills. And I probably had some choice words to say to him, but I'm grateful over the years developing that as a pattern. So now, I mean, literally we're up. Our routine for years has been getting up early. And I mean, it's not every single day for all these 22 years, but I was thinking about just this morning, and I was even just thinking about our routine, and I'm grateful that we've established this, that we get up usually 5:30-ish. We do work out together. We've built a little gym in our home now. So we get, and we love, there's some YouTube people that we follow that do amazing. You don't need, like, we do have a treadmill and some equipment and free weights, but doing HIIT workouts with free weights is kind of one of our consistent things over the years. We've done a variety of videos we do together, but we get up and we work out together. And I so encourage that. It used to be frustrating because Brad has a master's degree in exercise sports science and biomechanics. And so he's all about form. Yeah, I know. Surprise.
No idea.
No idea.
No idea.
So form and the body and all the mechanics of it, he would get on me about my form, and I am a little bit stubborn and would just, it wasn't, but
Did you do it on purpose?
I actually thought I knew some things that he helped to fix. So I'll stop talking, but I'll just say that I'm grateful now because my form is better. So thank you, Brad. I love you.
And it wasn't always like that. There was seasons where we worked out separately too, where I had gym membership, met guys there, and did more heavy lifting for a little while. And so we've kind of changed it around a little bit. But,
True.
But more recently, we've been consistent working together at home.
I would add the years that because be married 22 years, in the middle years, and we won't share our whole testimony today. That's not today. That's for another show. But the years that we've worked out together are the years I would say that we are closer and stronger in our marriage. There's more unity in that. There's something to it.
interesting.
I think back when you talk about those years that we weren't, had to do with some of the times when we were not in a great place in our marriage. So just as a side note.
That's interesting.
That is. I mean,
And
a lot of
discouraging because I don't want to.
well, no, discouraging because now Dustin's gonna hear this episode and go, Lindsay, we need to start getting
I
up at
know,
5:30
I'm
and going.
like,
But I love
No.
that, right? Like it wasn't like, hey, let's wake up at 5:30 and let's go hit the gym and we're gonna do it, top tier style. No, hey, we're just gonna start with walks. We're just gonna we're gonna ease into this. That's so smart. You have a what kind of degree?
Master's in biomechanics.
And where did this come from?
It was just something that I decided I was going to do growing up. And at first I thought I was going to be like an orthopedic surgeon or something. And then
I could see you doing that.
realized I didn't want to do all that school.
or work with people's
You got
feet.
smart. Got smart.
I mean,
Yeah, I was looking at like podiatry and stuff too. So
yeah,
I couldn't do
kind
that.
of changed it up. Shadowed a podiatrist for a day and realized you didn't want to Dremel people's feet all day. It's just not. Sorry, but it's needed. So
But it's needed. No, I mean, but what that was really smart before you put all of that money, all of that schooling, all of that time into something. You're like, I'm going to go shadow someone. I'm going to see what this is like.
yeah,
And it very quickly went, nope,
Nope.
no, no. So, audience, if you're out there, that is something that you need to do. Okay, you need to, before you decide to dump all this money into school, before you decide to say, oh, this is absolutely the career I want to go down, go shadow someone, go do an internship, right? It's just, that's so smart. I did not have that foresight. Nope. All right, so.
well, even still,
I was still
didn't end
naive.
up doing anything with my degree. So
No.
But you have all this great knowledge that benefits you and your family. It's not like it's just like useless facts, I guess.
For
like,
sure.
You know what I mean?
Side note, I'll say, our boys know that Brad has, this high level education and mom chose not to go to college and I'm the owner of our company. And they're like, well, mom owns a company and she didn't go to college. So, it's all but no, it's, yeah.
So let's actually go to the notes that we have today. So here we go, right? Before y'all joined us on camera, Heidi was talking about how Brad has a way of speaking to the best version of someone. Can you guys elaborate a little bit more on that? Because that spoke to me personally, and the audience needs to hear this.
yeah, that's I guess the way to describe it, and I think this is for just relationships in general or creating intimacy. Is when, and this can be in business relationships, your spouse relationship, friends, is when you see someone, you're seeing them not from the present time. So when you think about time, you have the past. You could see someone based on their past. You could see someone based on how they're acting now, or you could see them based on their potential future. And so I really view, when I see people, and maybe this is just a natural gift, God-given gift, but
For sure.
that I see people in their future potential. And so when I talk to them or I am setting them up for something, that's how I see them. So,
Yeah.
That's
How-
rare.
Yeah,
That is so rare.
How do you learn this skill? Because this
Right?
is something I need to learn because this is not, I don't currently do this. And it's something that, you're finding the best of somebody and encouraging them to be that best person.
Yeah, I can speak to on the receiving end of it and how he's modeled it. And so I've been able to learn from it and begin to apply it and use it in our family and in relationships and in our business. So, as I share, this is not the heavy testimony version of our day today in this conversation, but there were 7 years in the middle of our marriage that were really challenging. And he chose to see me for the best version of that I am, and to speak to that version of me. And Heidi, this is not who you are. Like, one thing to differentiate is what we do is not who we are.
What we do is not who we are. Okay, I like that.
So when we consider that and we focus on maybe they've done something, and a lot of times in relationships, whether it's marriage or friendship or in work or wherever, people will speak to what the people have done and talk about what they've done as if it's who they are. And if we can get away from that and actually speak to who, like, what they bring as a person, the character, the traits, like what we see in that individual, not based on what they've done, but what we see. So for instance, when I just put Brad through hell for 7 years, really, he chose not to focus on the moment but on the future of what he still saw for us as a family.
Interesting. So, Brad, is this something that, like, has this always been you, or is it something that, like a skill you've developed?
That's a good question. I don't really know, the answer to that. I think it's definitely something that was just in me already, and because for me that just seems normal.
Okay. Okay.
But because you've modeled it, you've made it possible for me and for others who are in your inner circle. Because I've had men who you are one-on-one with via coffee or close friends with, and Brad's not the charismatic, come in the room and just. But what I've been told by numerous men who've taken the time to get to know Brad and really invest in the relationship with him and learn from him is that they just value him so much and what they've learned from him. So you've got to take the time to get to know him. So I would say just the people sometimes in your life that they're like, there's just something about, and really that's what drew me to Brad, was there was this silent strength about him that I couldn't put my finger on it, but I could see it even when we met at almost 19 years old and got married when we were 20. I saw something that I wanted in my life. So it's a big deal. And on that note, I'm not sure what's happening in the studio, but we're going to keep
what's
moving.
going on. Lindsay wants to go move her camera, and there she is. She's coming back now, and we all got distracted. All got distracted. It was hilarious.
I was thinking though, I can kind of relate that to the notes of what we talked about, right? Because we talked about how when Brad and I began. So we met each other through college group at our church. He'd been off at school, out of state. My family moved to the state he lived in between right after high school. We graduated same year. But so my family moved to a state. He was off at college, came back for the summer to his family, and we ended up meeting through the college group at church. And in that, we didn't date. In fact, the first time he came,
Oh, yeah. One of my friends in the college group came up to me before I even met Heidi, and he was basically like, hey, the new girl that's here, she's mine.
He's like,
wow.
Whatever, dude.
Okay.
I was like, whatever. I hadn't met her yet. So I'm like, okay. Note
Are
taken.
y'all still friends? Because that'd be funny. Like, hey, remember when you said that she was yours?
We weren't like really close friends. We were, but we knew each other.
Definitely claiming the territory. But so over the summer, we just, hung out as friends, went to the beach, did stuff with the group. And toward the end of the summer, he had committed to go back to college out of state. And we both knew toward the end. So I had dated growing up, I had dated in high school, and he had not. That was another thing. You see these patterns in Brad, and like, who taught you that? There are certain things he just decided as a person and really lived into those decisions. When he decides, he's just a man of his word. So he had decided early on, he was very disciplined in his school and swimming, focused on that he chose not to date. So when we saw that there was something more, he came to me and said, Heidi, as we've been getting to know each other, I really like you a lot, and I would like to court you. And I'm like, you want to what me?
Is this a slang term? No.
It's a different choice of words. That's good.
And I thought, okay, well, what is this? And he explained that, well, if we decide that we're going to, date exclusively and see each other and build this relationship, it is for the purpose of marriage. That I've chosen not to date. And by choosing you, I'm choosing you forever. And that was so meaningful, first of all. I mean, as a woman, so I don't think I thought about it for too long. I knew that there was something very special about him. So we started dating. He went back to school. So about a year after that, we got married. He came home in between and proposed to me. We didn't say that we loved each other when we were dating. We didn't want to throw that word around, love.
I like that.
So when we got married, it was a really significant thing, and we started a life together. Our first 5 years of marriage, 6 years, were pretty awesome. And I know that's not for today necessarily. The middle years, we had some roughness, and then the last 7 years have been pretty awesome again. So,
but what that's created is a story. It's not this Disney fairy tale of we got married young, we did it perfectly, and there's that way there was never a grind or a grit to it. And correct, we will have that conversation later, but that probably will not come out. That will come out probably on this show after it's refined and built correctly, right? Let's go to our second point: beating the odds, learning how to honor well. Where does that come from?
Yeah, I think just when we started really to learn about God's kingdom and there's spiritual laws, there's, or you could even say universal laws here that God set up on earth on how things work. And honor is one of those. So I think we began to learn the kingdom and how it works before we moved here. So we moved here 8 years ago, and we went through a course called Biblical Entrepreneurship with a lady named Vicki Norris, and she became really a mentor to us in our marriage when we were coming out of that really rough season. And it wasn't really, yes, it was like a course about business, biblical based business, but it was more than that because she took it really a lot further and really taught the kingdom principles of life and family, and like how to honor was definitely part of that. So when we moved here and started coming to Elevate Life Church, Pastor Keith really aligned with that thought process.
Yeah.
And so when he taught honor, what honor is honor is we're honorable not because someone else is. We're honorable because we're honorable. And it's really like the really a core principle for really everything in life. And I think part of that, what we were talking about earlier too, even seeing someone from their future self is a way of honoring them.
So what are these biblical principles that you're talking about here? You're talking about biblical entrepreneurship, and honor is one of these. What are some other ones?
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, this is I've never heard of this program before, but there's going to be people who are going to want to know about this because they're like, hey, I'm thinking about being an entrepreneur. Yeah, let's get to it correctly.
Well, it really disrupted a lot of things in a great way for us. It turned a lot of things upside down and right side up.
Right. So, like the kingdom, I think you're talking about right side down and upside up. So, a lot of Christians, they live in the world, and they really grew up in a culture, whether America or whatever, and they don't really understand kingdom. So they might think democracy or when they think of right versus wrong and things like that, and they become a Christian, and they're flying a plane, but they're flying a plane upside down because they don't understand those kingdom principles. And when you're flying a plane upside down, and say they get really excited, like, oh, I'm a Christian now, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go, and they might even speak like, I'm going to go build God's kingdom. But if you're flying a plane upside down and you pull back on the stick, because when you want to go up, right, you pull back.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you're flying upside down, you pull back, where do you go?
You go down very fast.
Straight into the ground. So a lot of people don't realize you need to flip your plane right side up before you pull back on the stick.
They don't even know that they're upside down.
Right. They don't know it.
Well,
and that has some of those other principles we could talk about would be, so you have honor, you have things like sowing and reaping, understand what sowing is and how to sow a seed.
Profit, right? That it's not.
And then what profit means. So profit isn't just about money.
Is that PH or F?
Yeah,
profit.
You mean profit, the money profit, not
So in business, people think
not profit prophecy, not profit prophecy, profit
Like
dollars.
profit.
Okay.
In fact,
Got it.
a great book that I read during this time, because there's a spirit of mammon, and that's another conversation where a lot of Christian people there's this root of money, and money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil, right? So I read a book called Money and the Prosperous Soul. It was very impactful, and because I we come out of an environment where we're raised, and there are certain things talked about and certain conversations, certain terms we can't afford it, or just different mindsets that are created. And it took me a while, and I don't fault my parents. They were doing the best that they knew to do, and building a life that they built. And coming out of it, when we become adults and we get married, we've got to choose for ourselves as a young adult. Well, what am I going to create? What am I going to do with this? And so it was a lot of rewiring of getting out of a certain mindset and being able to build upon some things that why Brad and I now have been able to build a successful company together. That didn't happen. We were married for 16 years before we established our company together. And there were certain principles we had to understand, one being honor, but also Brad made really great money. He actually went into sales after he got that master's degree. He ended up going into home improvement sales, window sales. And it was fun. That's a funny story in and of itself. He was now compared to then, if you can, and he's just, solid, consistent, steady, but not your, loud, charismatic. So he came to a job fair, and they basically said, well, we'll hire anybody. So go ahead and come on in and go through the training program. And he did. They had a 2-week training program, and he went through it. At the end of it, went out and sold. In his first quarter, he outsold what anyone had done in a 20-year history of the company in a quarter of their first quarter of business.
Wow.
And he learned the system, he mastered it, he was very disciplined, and just outran all the guys that he was up against. And so just another principle there of discipline and grit. And but when he came out of school, I know I was going back to, let's see, tie it together here. Where were we?
You're going back to profit.
Profit, thank you. Well, no, there's another discipline in there. Shoot, I know we're live.
No, it's
It'll
fine.
come back.
It's no,
Okay.
and we can always go back
Well,
to
going back to profit, it's not so and we were talking about business.
Yes.
In the kingdom, there is kind of an obvious thing, like, well, to have a healthy business, you need to have profit monetarily. But in the kingdom, there's more than just monetary profit.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the relationships, the community, like how are you affecting in advancing God's kingdom? There's different forms of profit.
Right. And the cost and God's timing. There really are all of these principles.
Yeah. So sowing and reaping, and then rest too. So a lot of people come into business with a striving mentality.
Yeah.
And we have to strive, and we just got to work harder. But in God's kingdom,
He's talking to me right now.
when he rested on the seventh day, and when Jesus came, it's like he brought that rest continually. It's not a like, oh, we strive for 6 days and we rest on the seventh. We're supposed to actually live out of that rest. And it's not about going and getting things, it's about receiving.
Right.
And we understand that we already have it. When we sow a seed for it, what we're doing is just speaking out into our faith, right? We're putting faith in there that we are going to receive it. And that's when you're seeing things outside of time. God has his timing, so sometimes we might have to wait longer than we thought. But when we do sow that seed, it will be received. And
boom.
Nick just had his mind blown.
Well, no, it's one thing to hear it from Pastor Keith or hear similar things from Pastor Keith, but it's great to hear that there's other teachers out there that are teaching these concepts. And it's great to know that there's a thriving local business owners who own a business here locally, that the foundation is built. Because at the end of the day, when you own a small business, you can have your employees, you can have your team members, you can have your outreach, but it all funnels back to the core, which in your company is you two. And to know that is the little foundation of what your business is built upon speaks to, like, I remember first coming to Elevate Life, and I was told about y'all's success, right? But before I even knew you, I had heard about your success, and it was just different now that we have a friendship. And I'm like, oh wow, like this wasn't even on my radar when I joined Elevate, and now I get to be part of that. Oh man, it's so great. Like, you don't know. Hear me, audience. Hear me on this. You don't know because you're not in the room. Like, you don't know what you're missing out on because you're not in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're like, yeah, what you want to know what, Pastor Keith, so much energy. Come talk to Brad. Okay. Because he's not that high energy person, but when you listen to him, he can connect with you and you're like, oh, I get it. That's why he believes what he believes. That's why he says what he says, right? You don't always need to be a Pastor Keith, or if you watch this show, or a Nick to resonate with an audience. Okay. Dustin and I had a great conversation. Dustin is
My husband.
Dustin is Lindsay's husband.
That's my husband.
You know, he's more conscious about his words. I'll say that. But when he speaks, you better listen, because you don't know what gold's going to come out of that man's mouth. Same thing here with Brad. You don't know. And if you're not willing to get in the room and get around leaders like him, Mighty Men Saturday morning, get in the room, right? Get to Elevate Life Church, be there Sunday morning, right? There's Wednesday service for marriage, and Friday night we were all at a dance.
Yeah, that was fun.
Right? I mean,
You know, and I just want to add on that, you know, people listening may have a spouse or a friend or, you know, someone close to them that is a Brad, that is a little bit more reserved and is more of that contemplator, and they process things internally, and even they have expression, but it's more on the inside. I joke sometimes, like, you know, there's not a lot of expression here. I'll say, oh, he's really excited on the inside right now. You're just not seeing it on his face. But I want to speak to the people that have those Brads in their life that they've undervalued, because part of why when we say we beat the odds, that, I mean, in our marriage and in our business and in our family and in all things, we really have beat the odds considering what we've overcome. But partly why I allowed myself to get to a place of not valuing, honoring, appreciating Brad was I was looking at all the things about him I didn't like. I would say, and this was back like 2010, 2012 timeframe, that I would say, you know, oh, like, why did we ever get married? We're nothing alike. We're so different, which is true. We are a lot different, right? And I would just say, you know, when you walk in a room, why can't you just smile? Why can't you? And I would say things like, why can't you be more like me? Oh, even just saying that out loud just sounds disgusting, but I would say terrible things to him like that. I mean, to the point where I came home one night and I said, I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to be married to you anymore. I mean, I was in that selfish, cold-hearted place. So if you have a Brad, though, in your life, you're going to have to learn to step back. And part of that honoring piece was really reevaluating and going back to a place. In our case, I had to remember what I liked about him and then kind of rebuild that slowly. And not because of anything he'd done. I was the one that had been in the wrong. But really taking the time to see the good and to value the quiet strength and to allow that to develop, because what you're hearing him speak right now, that wisdom has always been in him. And if I had taken the time, you know, a decade prior, I would have not lost those years that I was so selfish and so undervaluing him. And in fact, we probably wouldn't be married if he wasn't the man that he is, that can see the best in me, because based on what I did for years, most men would not have stayed with me. So he, you know, his ability to see past, but then also for me to take the time to really get to know his heart and to value that in him and to allow him to develop and speak out. It's actually been spoken to him. Multiple different prophetic people have said, okay, Brad, in the year, like, one, you have the heart of David. They just see in him, just in this, like, spiritually, he's just this rock and this heart after God. But also that he's kind of purred like a kitten. So people might know Brad is kind of quiet, but in the years to come, he's going to roar like a lion.
That's cool. I just got chills.
Right? Right?
So I just love and honor this man so much. It's taken time. And I know Brad's getting a little emotional. I can see that right now, which it takes a lot for him to show that. But he really is that. And so if you have that person in your life, you've got to take the time to invest and be willing to be patient with them and patient with yourself.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right on that. And if you are an extrovert and if you are someone that is, and I'll say someone like me or someone like Heidi that is just very high energy, you could be missing out and you could be damaging some of the most important relationships in your life because you are not, and I'm going to offend someone. You ready? Shut up. Just shut up. Just take a step back. You're an energy creator, and that's great. And we love that about you. But take a step back, and instead of speaking at them, maybe start asking some questions.
Yeah.
And then shut up. And if you got offended by that, you need to look into your own heart. You really do. Because that spirit of offense is what's stopping you from moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Brad and I were just talking about that yesterday, about that spirit of offense. That is what keeps so many people from the greatness that God intended for them. I mean, we've seen in our company, we've had numerous guys, that we've developed and trained up and leave and go start their own company, which happens in every industry.
Sure.
And a few of them have done it honorably, and we still do life. And even when those that didn't do it honorably, we didn't shame them. We didn't backtalk. In all transparency, I had to take a break from our company for almost 2 years to heal and recognize that was a hard season, but that I had to really understand that it's not about me, and it just regain some of the understanding there. So that's a whole other conversation for business owners. And Brad gave me the time and space to do that, and to homeschool our boys, and to do some things that were in my heart to do. And I'm now back entered into our company. But sometimes you need those little breaks. Like I need a timeout, and to allow the spouse to do that was awesome. Thank you, Brad. Again.
So I'm actually going to ask a question to you, Brad. And here's, when you're an extrovert and you're a visionary, it's very easy to lead the household. Okay. But you are, how do you lead your household as more of the silent, strong type? How do you lead your household?
Yeah, I think I come maybe from more of a teaching perspective. So in terms of just, sitting down and teaching principles, and then, holding those accountable, which can be difficult sometimes, when you have children and things. But I would say I'm not coming, from maybe an extroverted perspective.
But he's present. That's one thing that when I was checked out a little bit too, like he showed up and had to be mom and dad for a while. And now that I have been back in the picture for a long, all these years now, he's very present with our boys. And he's very patient with me as the extrovert visionary in our home. That's another thing too. We've learned we're both visionary. So
you guys are
having two visionary leaders in a home and in of recognizing, okay, to go to new levels and create additional companies that are in our heart to do, we've got to have the right implementer COO in our company. So if you know anybody.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
But here we go though, right? If you're like, oh, I'd be perfect for that, you better watch this episode again, because here's why. If your spiritual alignment, if your mental alignment, if your physical alignment, if you are not ready to lead, to follow, then you're going to, and understand who we're talking about here, they'll either elevate you up or they'll elevate you out.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's
so yes, please apply, but understand the world that you're about to step into.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, and I haven't really thought of it from that perspective. People that are close to us know that I'll just say, like, we're very generous. We are very loving. We're gonna be very relational, which has been hard, because when people come into your life and you develop and build relationship specific to our company, right? To have those people leave was really, really hard, because we're very relational. In fact, a core value of our home and of our business is relationship. And we were even advised by people when we determined that for our company, they said, that's a tough one. Are you sure? Because relationships are messy. And we said, absolutely. I mean, that's at the core of it. We're committed to the long term of it, which it sometimes means they're going to go. A lot of times
Correct.
it means they're going to go. And that's ELC, Pastor Keith and Sheila, who are spiritual parents to us and mentors. And we actually coach directly with Pastor Keith. We've learned a lot how they've modeled. People are going to come in and out of your life sometimes. And a lot of times the way they're going to go, they forget about all the good things, when we've, covered mortgages and taken cars out of repo and all kinds, just things. It's just part of life, just part of the mess of life that happens. When we're committed, we're committed. That means a lot. That means all kinds of things. So when people go in hurtful ways, and not to become bitter about it, though. That's partly why I had to take that step out, was to enter back in I didn't want to be bitter. I wanted to be able to grow forward and do all that is God's put in my heart to do, our hearts to do, without bitterness, because you can't through that filter.
I think that was key. Like if you're watching this, rewind that just 30 seconds, because when you value relationships, you have to be all in. And there's so many people and there's so many things out in the world and the secular world that they're like, oh, let's be in a relationship, but I'm only going to put in a toe. And if you change the temperature of the water, I'm going to leave, right? So, you're either in or you're not.
Right.
Don't be this one foot on the sideline and 1 foot in the game.
You can't be married for 22 years and have a healthy, thriving marriage and be straddling your life.
But to that, like, what do you want in your relationships?
Ooh.
Are you all in?
Right.
Really look at yourself in that and say, this is the kind of relationship I see in the future, right, Brad? Like of who I want to, of how I want to be with this person, or even friendships.
Yeah.
And looking at those and saying, this friendship or this relationship isn't where I want it to be. Well, am I all in?
That's true. And I think you can take that a step further. And Brad, anytime you want to interrupt me, you can interrupt me, please, because I can see it. So I'm going to say this, and I want to hear what's going on in that man's head. Okay, that's why you have a close core of 3 to 4 friends, and you're not trying to be friends with 20, 30 people all at one time. Go ahead,
Nick. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's I think too, just treating friends or relationships, you need to treat them as if they will be in your life forever, but don't expect that, because a lot of times in relationship, you in our company too. So it's like if someone comes in, whether they're there, say they just come for a week or 2 weeks, and they're just they go through training and they get some training and they see us and they leave. Well, hopefully when they leave, they learn something and left better than they came. Or if they're with us 5 or 10 or so years, that's part of that profit. So if they're coming in and they leave and they're better than they were, then
It's profitable.
that's profitable. That's a profitable business. Is the way we.
Profitable relationship. I mean, you could think of it that way. Am I profiting, and are they profiting from this relationship?
yes, but let's take that a step further. Okay, how many businesses have that mentality? Hear me on this. How many businesses have that mentality? You want to know what? Come on in, and we're going to train you. And if you want to stay with us for a couple of years, great, right? Or does it go, hey, we feel that we're just going to throw the book at you and we're just going to move you out of the way, right? We're not going to invest time in you. We're not going to invest money in you. Like we're not really worried about your life or your personal life. So what we're going to do is I need you to work. I know we're paying you for 40 hours a week. I need you to work 60, and your home life, you can sacrifice it. Those kids, they don't really need your time, right? When you look at corporate America now, and I'm going to make someone angry and then just get over it, okay? It's going the wrong direction. What you're seeing here with Brad and Heidi, that's the right direction. Where would America be if employers cared about their employees, if employers wanted a relationship with their employees? And I'm talking about even the Fortune 500, right? You could be a supervisor, you could be a manager, you could be a VP, a director. It does not matter your title. Are you investing positive into the people that you are supposed to be leading? And if you're not, you're missing it.
Yeah. And being a, as Pastor Heath talks about, that intensity, passion, intensity, deal. Like people that are passionate, you come to a point sometimes of intensity, and I've got to be mindful of that at home and in our company. I know affectionately, yeah,
Yes.
in the past, I've been referred to as the bulldog because I can be passionate. So as an owner, yes, we love hard, and sometimes that requires some
Tough
a little bit of
conversations.
tough conversations,
Yeah.
a little correction, a little confrontation, and most of the time, holding it in. Sometimes, when you, just like as a parent, when we go over the line, we know we've crossed the line, coming back and apologizing and say, look, I know that I was a little bit strong there. We, in our home and in our business and in our life, we don't swear. So it's just a funny thing. Like we don't, if you do, fine, whatever. Like, and that's not a church or a Christian or a religious thing or
it's a household
kingdom
thing.
That's just how Brad and I are both wired. It literally sounds funny saying, I mean, I have to be really, Brad's like, when he says what the flip, people know, oh, I got him mad, right? Oh, we talked about that. You say poop sticks.
I do say
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, all that to say that when I say I'm getting mad, sometimes a level of intensity with a real type A salesperson or something in our organization that there needs to be some correction. But know that if we cross the line, coming back around sometimes, and there can be apology for sure, because sometimes that's necessary. A lot of times it's not. A lot of times the correction was necessary.
I am agreeing with you.
But I think that's important for all relationships, is knowing when you cross that line of, yeah, I need to go apologize, and doing it and following through, but knowing too, no, that was needed to set that boundary, to set the expectation,
Correct.
to move forward so that we're both in alliance
Yeah.
and on the same page.
So to make sure the audience understands, we are not apologizing for the correction.
Yeah.
We are apologizing for maybe the intensity
Yes.
of the correction.
Correct.
Yeah, flipping
Okay.
is just very.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. Because, yeah.
Yeah, because if I got that heated to come and I'm apologizing you for my emotion, understand that correction was needed. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's just make
But how many people do that in the real world outside of like
The
people we know?
That's
know
why I
what I
hang around the
mean?
people
Like-
we know. Hey, no, seriously, like Friday night, going there, having dinner. Like I was surrounded by people that I enjoy doing life with, minus one couple.
Yeah, we weren't there.
You weren't there, but here we go,
I
right?
know.
And I took a picture of it and I'll show it to you. There were 2 seats next to me that were empty, and I looked over at those seats and I was like, Lindsay and Dustin are supposed to be sitting in these seats at this table right now. And everyone was like, I know. It's so weird not having them here.
I know. Yeah, we're missed.
You know, I mean, there were just a few things that I thought of that kind of tie back to, but again, we can save for another time too. I'll say,
Hold on. Did you just say that we get to have y'all as guests again? Is that what I heard?
this is fun. I like this. You know, it's interesting too, because being married all these years, for Brad and I we both valued development and just learning and growing. And when you're aligned with someone, fortunately, at a very young age, God knew better than I did. Fortunately, when I chose Brad, I did choose him, but I know that there was a divine
Alignment.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because I say, you know, I could have married someone who weighs 400 pounds and didn't have a lot of drive in their life, and I would be a totally different person. You know, our alignments that we choose, the people that we choose. And we hear that all the time at ELC, right? But it is so true that our alignments determine our assignments, and we have to be prepared to receive. So the preparation we're doing right now will line us up for that next round of alignments that'll take us to that next level. So it's a continual process. What people don't realize prior to starting our company, when we started our company in 2016, and we had right out of the gate pretty significant success, it's easy to look and go, oh, that was an overnight success. What people don't know is from the beginning, we've invested for sure 6 figures in our development, in continuing to go to coaching and events. In our first 13, 14 years of marriage, anytime we went on vacation, we were attending a conference.
Oh my goodness, that sounds like so much fun.
I mean, it might sound like
to me, that sounds like, of course.
Well, to us it was fun, but it established certain things for us, and we made it fun. But it wasn't. We really, and that was an investment for us. A lot of times we didn't even have, but it was what we were building and working toward.
Amber, write that down. We need to have we're going to have a conversation about this, of what conferences we can go to as couples. Why have I not thought of this before?
It wasn't your thought to have.
Right?
You needed to hear it.
I know,
Yeah.
right? Man. Okay, so
Well, now in our family, we make sure we go on real vacations.
Yeah.
that aren't just a conference.
We do.
You have rest vacations,
We
not just
do.
like work vacations.
I mean, Mexico is a 2-hour flight from Texas, so that's a fun getaway with the boys. We actually really enjoy traveling with them, and on the kid part too, because you mentioned at the beginning we're parents, and again, when I use the term checked out like that, I'll just say that for now. Like in that season, part of that was when the boys were really little, and I, as a mom, was just not who I am, for sure. I was not showing up as who I am. And so for me to invest and develop that relationship with them over the years was so important. So now the relationship I have, people comment on noticing what I have in that relationship, and they don't know how hard we have worked for that. It's an all the time thing, just like in marriage, and any relationship is an all the time thing. It's not a sometimes thing. And then too, I want to say, I'm really proud of what we've developed from kind of the flow or the rhythm, as Pastor Keith calls it, of our life that we've developed over time. And that's always, I would say, there's always room for improvement, for sure. And we're always growing in that and refining that and, improving it. What we've done though, because when you set something in your mind to do and you get very clear about it and you write it, right? Like I know there are all sorts of scripture backs that up as well, but you really make that plain. Sometimes so I found a recipe box with little notes, and I pulled out these little note cards. I didn't even know what was in it. And I started reading through them, and it talked about living on an acre with a tree-lined driveway. It talked about...
This is what you wrote.
This is what I wrote back in 2009, 10. Even toward the end, I wasn't even completely out of my messiness.
okay.
But I was starting to craft what I did want, even though I was not showing up as who I am and who God created me to be. I was getting clarity about, okay, if we are going to really build this life together that we've been working toward all these years, really getting clarity about it and writing it down, putting it to paper. Those have been in a recipe box for now over a decade. I come back to it and I'm looking at, our date nights and being intentional with the boys a year to warm places and just various things that I've written on these note cards that we are doing in our lives. We live on an acre with a tree-lined driveway.
What?
I mean, like very specific things that when the clearer you can be, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow or next month or next year. So being committed to that process, even when there's messiness, and allowing space for your spouse to kind of grow in that process. I'll just say too, like I've done a ton in healing, worked with a trauma specialist. Like we carry trauma in our bodies from all kinds of things that sometimes we know about, sometimes we don't even know is there, and there are layers to it, and it's not suddenly gone one day. Just continue. Sozo is another thing that it's a healing ministry out of Bethel Church that it's a prayer ministry, and just showing up and hearing the truth about what God says about you. Like, what lie are you believing, and replacing it and receiving the truth about what God says. There are all these different things we've done over the years, and it's a continual. So when we show up healthy like this, and you're seeing this, and we require a certain level of, like with that COO position or with anything that we're going to hire, we are expecting a lot because we expect a lot out of ourselves. And we continue to invest and continue to grow. And I think that's why one of the things I didn't realize, when people have left our life, they've chosen to, I took it to heart, like, man, what did we do? But I can see that sometimes that could be uncomfortable, just like a lot of people leave ELC because they get uncomfortable because they're going to expect a level of growth. And if you're not comfortable with growing, you're not going to make it.
You're not going to want to stay.
It's
gonna
not
choose,
enjoyable.
Like you said, they
choosing.
choose to leave because they're not wanting to be pushed to become better.
And I could see how this could come across as, they think, they're all that. And we just know that as kingdom people, we're called to greater things. And especially now in this part of the earth that we live this season, that we've been created for this time. So we look around and see the craziness, go, okay, well, God, you must really think a lot of us, that you've created us for this time to live in the earth, and of our children, and to raise them up in this. So speaking of children, and I know we're over time, and I know, but you mentioned something about kids, and I want to say, when in that vision of that little recipe box that I found, one of the things that, being intentional with the boys, we saw a life for ourselves that was probably not a traditional, conventional way of doing things. Mm-hmm. And we've never been in our family. Both sides of our family have thought we were crazy. Like, one of Brad's brothers thought I'll say it out loud. Is it okay? He thought I brainwashed Brad. But then some of my family members thought that Brad brainwashed me. Like, we're more meant for each other. Like, we're just, maybe we are wired a little differently, but we've both chosen this. So anyway, in that unconventional, God put it on my heart about 5 years ago to homeschool our boys. Mm-hmm. And of the two things in my life that I said, one is I will never drive a minivan, and I will never homeschool my kids. I still will never, ever drive a minivan.
You and Amber are in alignment on that.
Never. There's so many other options. But when I clearly knew that was a prompting from the Lord to homeschool our boys, and I came to Brad, and he was like, yeah, right. Because that's not my gifting. I said, no, really. And so, I started doing research and asking around, and we did find an option. And for 2 years, but I went to someone who had gone before me, in this case, Robin Moore, mm-hmm. who also, she's a pillar of Elevate Life Church. She's a widow, but she does not live by that title. She has living now beyond her husband, Rob, who's in heaven, and she mm-hmm. honors him. And that relationship is a whole other, she's just incredible. I reach out to her for parenting advice, for business advice, all kinds of things. But I knew that they had raised 4 children. They'd had a couple of different companies and homeschooled their children. And I took her to coffee, and I said, Robin, I know you did this because their kids are all grown now, young adults. How did that work for you? And again, this is this modeling and asking people who've gone before you, how did you do this? And she mm-hmm. said, Heidi, first of all, every parent is a homeschooling parent, whether their kids are in school or they're at home. Every parent is a homeschooling parent. Interesting. We can't send our kids off to school and expect them to get an education. Correct. We can't send them off to church and expect them to get Jesus. Like that has to happen.
But so many do.
Totally.
So many do.
But she said, every parent gets to be the exclamation on their kids' mm-hmm. education. So she said how this looked for us, how this worked is she said, I had a woman come alongside me and tutor inside the home so that then Robin could be that exclamation on her children's education. So then I realized it opened a whole new world. Like, okay, I can be a business owner. I can be involved in ministry. I can be a present mom. Mm-hmm. I can be, doing the things that God's called me to do. And it may not look like what the world says it's supposed to look like, but I just want to paint that picture and kind of expand what's possible for people, because our boys now are not, they're not homeschooled. We did have a tutor come alongside for 2 years, and that was all prior to COVID. So when COVID hit, we were already in that flow. It's so cool how God prepares us. He's like, this is coming and I want you to be ready. And so we as a family didn't skip a beat because we were already in this flow. But then we did find a university model school. It's a Christian private school. They're home 2 days a week and in class 3 days a week, which has been an awesome hybrid for our family. But find what works for you and don't limit yourself to, well, I want to do this thing, but for all these reasons I can't. There are so many reasons you can. You just have to be open to it might be outside of what you're currently doing.
So I have a question for you, Brad. When Heidi came home and was like, hey, I want to homeschool my kids. Did
you laugh out loud? That's
yes.
What's in my head.
I think he did. Because I was just like, woo,
I didn't think we'd actually do it. I thought that was maybe one of those, think about it for a day and then, never mind, that was a crazy idea. But after she started meeting, with Robin and bringing back here, okay, here's how we could do it. Then I was like, I started to have that same sense that, okay, this is something we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because our boys were kind of going to start approaching middle school age. And that's a whole different, animal when you middle school and high school. So we just wanted to have a system for our family that worked.
There you go. I like it. I like it. All right, we're gonna go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we gotta end this show. And here's why. Here's why. Hopefully, I would be honored to have both of you come back onto the show.
Absolutely.
There is so much that was dropped in this that I was like, you want to know what? 30 minutes? Forget it. So we're actually coming up on an hour now.
Gosh.
Can you believe it went so fast,
so
didn't
fun.
it?
I hope people really did get some value out of it. Thank you for having us.
I
course.
did. Who cares if they don't? No, I'm just kidding.
So hear me on this. We're going to have couples almost every day this week. Okay. And when you join, have your coffee ready and have your notepad right next to it, or have your phone, if you're watching on your laptop, have your phone ready to type down some notes. Okay. Now, both of you are on Facebook, right?
We are.
Yes.
Okay. So if you have questions about either homeschooling or starting a business, or what was that Christian
Yeah, it's a
entrepreneurship?
university model school.
Okay.
UMS.
So that's
university model school.
That's for the kids, right?
Yeah.
But what was it that you were talking about that was the entrepreneur thing?
Oh, biblical entrepreneurship. That's through an organization called the Nehemiah Project.
The Nehemiah Project. Okay. So if you have questions about those, reach out to them. Okay. We'll make sure to leave as many links as we can in the comments so you guys can click on them and follow to it. Understand, no one here is being paid to make these recommendations. This is completely from their heart. Okay. Now, go ahead. What you got, Heidi? I saw it.
Thank you. I don't know. Breathe. A lot of that teaching, and it totally aligns with ELC as well, is Dr. Miles Monroe is an incredible, he's actually passed away in 2014 tragically, but he's a man that a lot of people go back to when they reference kingdom principles. Dr. Miles Monroe, look him up on YouTube. Dozens, if not hundreds of teachings.
Perfect.
Free.
There you go. Free part, right? Okay. Now here we go, right? If you're like, Nick, I love what's going on in there. How do I become a guest on the show? You need to reach out to me or Lindsay. Okay. Understand that when we invite you to be a guest on the show, one, we buy you coffee. Why? Because part of the show is
It's coffee and cookies.
I didn't get my
coffee
cookies.
I know. I was at the store yesterday and I walked down the cookie and I'm like, I should probably buy some cookies.
it.
And
It's okay.
I'll go tonight.
It's
I'll
okay.
I'll bring some for you.
There you go. Right. But also look at the dynamic. Okay. This was fun. You heard that said, and this couple brought incredible value. So if you're shy about it and you're like, I'm thinking about being on camera, I'm really not too sure, come be on camera with us. Okay. Just make sure that you bring value. Make sure that you like coffee. Do we let people who like tea on?
Oh, well, no, I like tea. I like chai tea.
Caffeinated tea.
Caffeinated tea. So
that compromise.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Hey, it's Monday. I don't have my binder next to me, and that's okay. Make sure that you get your big three in, okay? What are your big three for this week? If you have kids, be aware, for a lot of school districts, Friday's a holiday. So you might be taking off Friday, so you have 4 days to get your big three in, all right? Make sure that you're in the comments. If you are, make sure that you've liked this video or shared it. That's how we know to pray for you. That's how we know to love on you. That's how we know that you're watching. Because honestly, other than that, we just see numbers. We just see numbers. Like, we don't know who the audience is unless they're in the comments and if they're liking the videos. Yeah. So we greatly appreciate that. It's Monday. Bring your greatness today. If you have a Valentine, make sure that you go to the store early if you haven't gotten anything yet. Don't wait till last minute. Don't do that. Don't do it, because it's going to be sold out and then you're going to get in trouble. Dun, 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 dun. So make sure that you bring your greatness today. And above all, please make sure you
Rise up.
and crush it. Bye, y'all.
Bye.